Good morning, Magic players! Today, on this bombastic battle of bubbly brawlers, we have a full suite of power here. The Doombringer, Horatio Twirlstash, has returned, this time commandeering Morophon for his own delightfully dastardly deeds. He keeps a hand of Stomping Ground, Arena, Demir Signet, Thran Dynamo, Kindred Discovery, Mana Flare, and Karthus, Tyrant of Jund. Returning off the back of an embarrassing defeat at the hand of Krozix, Kudzwi is piloting Varina this time, keeping Castle Lockenbakken, Watery Grave, Orzhov Signet, Liliana Dreadhorde General, Mikaea Steel Unhallowed, Gary, and Gravecrawler. Greg Meningitis returns as well, bringing the god of the party to his side. He's kept 3 mountains, Kazandu Refuge, Rogue's Passage, Illusionist Bracers, and Malignus. Will he make an explosive play this time? Will he OTK our Executioner again? Speaking of our Executioner, Geripol is here too, bringing Nicol Bolas, the Ravager. I had hoped to never see another Nicol Bolas again after last game, but here we are. He's bringing the axe down with Volcanic Island, a swamp, Reliquary Tower, Cascade Bluffs, Life's Finale, Aether Spouts, and a Consecrated Sphinx. As everyone else is making their plans, Greg steps up, having absolutely no plans, and proclaims he's going first. No one else cares, underestimating the groovy guy named Greg. Meningitis starts us off with the Kazandu Refuge, gaining 1 life. He passes to Geripol. Gary plays a Volcanic Island, flexing his oily biceps. It's pretty hot, to be honest. Kudzwi plays and cracks on Marsh Flats, passing. Horatio cackles for no reason and plays a tapped Stomping Ground. Kudzwi finds a Hollow Fountain. Twirlstash passes. Greg plays a Mountain, then a Burgeoning. Twirlstash asks if he kept a hand of lands in the enchantment. Greg only smiles, passing to Geripol. Gary flexes, the oil on his body expelled at high speeds. One of the oil drops turns into a Reliquary Tower. I guess that's how he casts spells or something. We hear a
"Go ahead, Mr. Joester"
from Greg, and he plays a Mountain off Burgeoning. We hear it again as Kudzwi plays a Watery Grave untapped, paying 2 life. They play an Orzhov Signet and pass, wiping off some of the oil that landed on him. Horatio doesn't play anything, he just oh, there's an Exotic Orchis only. Greg notices, says his line again, and drops a Rogue's Passage. Greg grooves a groovy gig, what did I just say? And plays a Malignus. It's only turn 3, folks. He passes, showing Xenagos what he did. Xenagos laughs very, 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 very loud. Gary plays a Cascade Bluffs. There's no line from Greg this time as he's caught up in the Malignus moment. Kudzwi plays a Castle Lockenbakken, then a Labman to put out a blocker. They know Greg needs Xenagos to kill, so they feel safe to play defensively. Plans going almost perfectly, Horatio plays an unknown territory, naming Cephalus for some reason. No wait, I'm being told he named dragons. Oops. He then casts a Mana Flare. This only makes Xenagos and Greg laugh even harder. It's all according to plan, as he says. Greg plays a Force, then summons a Satyr with style, Xenagos. He plays an Illusionist Bracers. He moves to combat, making Malignus into a 40-40. He attacks Horatio, who was unworried. He smirks, and then Gary casts an Aether Spouts, sending the Malignus to the top of Greg's library. Greg and Xenagos both give Aether Spouts a glare. Fights a Flourishing, then enters, and Greg passes. Gary draws 2 and puts the cards in his armpit. I hate having to read this. He drops a City of Brass and then an Island, then drops a Consecrated Sphinx. With this and rights on board, he will draw 12 cards before his turn comes back. It becomes a top priority removal for the other wizards. Horatio is again unworried. Odd. Kudzwi draws 2 and Gary draws 4. The pair each play a Swamp. We then see the zombie horde growing with Agisa and Garoth milling the top 4, followed by a Relentless Dead played from their ability. Kudzwi then plays Varina and passes. Horatio plays an Arena while Gary is drawing 4. He then casts a Thran Dynamo, which seems to be a common theme for this deck. He then casts a Crux of Fate to wipe away the Sphinx. Unfortunately, it gets countered with a Mana Drain and a Hip Thrust from Gary. Grinning, Horatio shifts the turn, eyeing Kudzwi. Malignus makes a triumphant return to the field. They say the best removal is player removal, so Greg does exactly that. He makes Malignus unblockable with Rogue's Passage, then hits Geripol for all of his remaining health. Horatio, Xenagos, and Greg all laugh hysterically as Gary is defeated once again by a one-shot from Greg. All through, he passes. Arkham shows up to dance with Xenagos. Everyone tells Arkham to go away. Kudzwi draws 2 from rights and plays a Command Tower. They drop a Liliana Dreadhorde General, which they should have played last turn. They down-tick the Walker, making everyone sacrifice 2 creatures. Relentless Dead triggers and Kudzwi returns it and Varina to their hand, misreading its ability. They then replay the Relentless Dead and swing Gisa and Geralf and Lab Mana at Greg, dealing 6. Problem solved. They pass to the Doombringer, who has yet to bring the doom. Twirlstash twirls the stash and plays a Mana Vault, followed by Morophon. With the mana reduction granted, he plays a Karthus, gaining control of nothing and giving his dragons haste. He attacks Liliana with Karthus, killing her. All done, he passes and plots his next 17 moves. Kudzwi rereads Relentless Dead and realizes it puts the other zombie to the field instead of to hand, so Varina returns. Still misreading though, as it triggers on death, not hitting the grave. Greg sees the Double Trouble hordes growing and plays a dragon of his own, a Savage Ventmaw. Xenagos bestows the dragon with haste and double power, allowing it to deal 8 damage directly to Kudzwi. The duo, fearing a one-shot, is surprised that they only took 8. They shrug, and Greg Meningitis passes. The 8 damage is nothing to Kudzwi as they play Mikaea Steel Unhallowed and then Gary, dealing 9 to their opponents and gaining 18 life. Now Kudzwi is the target as they have a repeatable trigger from Gary using Mikaeus and Gisa. The duo hits Greg again for 6 with Varina Relentless Dead, drawing, discarding, and gaining 2 life. Now the target, they pass. Horatio eyes them, not expecting that play. Horatio takes a damage from the Mana Vault, leaving it tapped. He drops a Path of Ancestry, then a Territorial Hellkite. He swings everything at Kudzwi, afraid that they're going against his plans. Kudzwi lashes back by casting a Victim of Night, targeting Karthus. It resolves, destroying the dragon. Horatio manages to deal only 13 damage to the duo, and they point out Mikaeus' other ability, destroying any human that makes contact. Morophon is destroyed because it counts as a human. Taken aback, Horatio attempts to rectify his situation by playing a Null-Spine Dragon, discarding his hand and drawing 13. He drops a plane and an island, then an Unsettled Mariner, as well as Lightning Greaves. He equips it to Null-Spine Dragon in case Kudzwi is packing more removal. Making new plans, the Doombringer passes to Greg. Greg plays a Forest, then Archetype of Aggression. Xenagos is now a creature, so the bracers go right onto him, doubling his triggers. He attacks with a 16/16 Savage Ventmaw, now with Trample. It connects, but isn't destroyed because it's a dragon, not a human. Wiping dust or dandruff off his shoulders, Greg casts Scour from Existence on Mikaeus. It resolves, exiling a zombie. Wiping off more dust or dandruff, most likely dandruff, Greg passes. Kudzwi draws for turn. They perk up a bit. Horatio gets suspicious when Kudzwi asks if anyone has any removal. Both Greg and Horatio shake their heads, fearing what's to come. The duo plays a Godless Shrine, paying 2 life to have it come into play untapped. They play a Razakath. Maintaining priority, Kudzwi sacrifices Labman and pays 2 life again to grab exactly what they need. They play a Wayward Servant, then a Phyrexian Altar, then a Gravecrawler. They all resolve, and Kudzwi demonstrates the loop. Gravecrawler can be played from the graveyard if another zombie is under their control. Phyrexian Altar allows them to sacrifice it for a black mana, which is enough to replay it after being sacrificed. The Wayward Servant is the payoff. With infinite casts of Gravecrawler, we get infinite Wayward Servant triggers, draining out all opponents and getting revenge on Horatio to win the game.
Stunning victory by the Necromancer duo. None of their foes expected to win out of the blue so quick. Foiling Horatius' plans and out-healing the damage Greg dealt, and allowed Kudzwi to pull out the victory in the end. They will bring that lethality and cunning back to the fight next time on Wizards of the Vortex.